Grace and peace, fam. Grace and peace once again. I'm going to give people a chance to get back into the chat. Come on back into the chat. Come on back into the house. Come on back in. What happened to Sister Shonda? She was just talking and then everything just went fake. So I'm going to give y'all a minute to come back in. I'll give y'all a minute to come back in because we were having quite a lively, important discussion. I believe it's something that we need to have a lot of. We need to have more of. And I'm glad, praise Yahweh, that I was able to make it back tonight. Right? For my eyes, lids start closing and start getting sleepy. So y'all probably want to know, what happened? What happened? What is going on, Sister Shonda? Welcome to the U.S. Virgin Islands, where power outages are a regular. Welcome. Yes, yes. So if you are coming in here, AV, so glad to be back. If you're coming here, then you better be ready because the power could go out at any time. Yes. Sister Yvette, glad to be back. Thank you so much for welcoming me in. And thank y'all for pouring on in. Man, I tell you, it's just like the crazy thing about a power outage, right? Is that when it happens, it's just like you're just paralyzed for like a second. You're like, oh, okay, I'm stuck. Everything is shut down. Everything is shut off. Because usually it happens at night. It happens in the daytime too, but it happens at night. And we've been having quite a few power outages over this summer. We've been having quite a few. Even when I was traveling up in the States, my husband told me that they were having back to back power outages. We just had one just a few days ago. So y'all pray. Come on, y'all. Y'all just pray that the power stays on again for the whole night. We don't have any more issues. I know that's right, sis. I thank you so much, Brother Jason. I know that's right. The struggle is real with those power outages. Ain't no right now. My grandfather actually is in the middle of building a generator room. See, because you can't just have like a generator here. You got to build an entire room, and it's got to be like covered with cement because this is, of course, y'all know, a heavy hurricane area, and his last generator that he had, some sort of a tree branch, a big branch, something fell on it and completely destroyed it. So he is in the process right now. Not him, of course, because he's up there in his years, but he is having one built, a generator room in concrete, and I don't have that option here. I don't. So it is what it is. Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate it. Please tell your wife I appreciate that. That is awesome. Thank y'all so much for those of you who prayed and are praying for me and mine. So we're having a great conversation. I saw actually a couple of y'all who were coming in. I don't know if y'all were trying to come in and see if you can, find out what was going on, but you're in the back studio, so you can't really see what's going on too much. But if you'd like to come in and join the discussion, I've already put the link in the chat. It is pinned to the chat, and so we can continue on with the discussion. This is part 2 because I'm not going to go back over everything that we did in part 1. If you did not see part 1, if you're coming in, it's a little late night. If you're just coming in and you don't know what's been going on, please go ahead and look at the channel later on and check out part 1 of the discussion about T.D. Jakes and about his comment that he made, particularly about women, that has stirred the internet. It has stirred the controversial statement. So feel free to take a listen to that. But what we were talking about when I was disengaged for about the last, 30 or 40 minutes, we were talking about whether or not we as sisters, right, if we would like to be able to stay home, and we were trying to get an estimation, try to collect some data, if you will, if we were all on the same page, if the brothers wanted us to stay home, if we wanted to stay home. And quite a bit of everyone said pretty much the same thing. If we had the ability as women, as wives, as mothers to stay at home, and we did not have to worry about the cost of living, then the majority of us have agreed that we would stay home. And yes, as a stay-at-home mom, there are definite challenges. There are absolute challenges. But one of the things that I wanted to address with what I did not like entire message before you make a judgment. Soundbite. But one of the things that I did not like is that he did not give the whole story, right? He didn't give the whole story. He made the address that he talked about what he said where you're climbing the corporate ladder, right? He talked about climbing the corporate ladder, but our homes are suffering because you're out there. So what I wanted to do is I want to talk about some historical realities of being a Black woman, okay? Historical realities of being a Black woman in America. And some of you, I don't know if you are familiar with this right here, but this is a very, very important document that you see on the screen right here. And I'm going to take my time and I'm going to read through this document. What we need to understand is that this is actually embedded, okay, in the DNA of American society. And I think we do a disservice to ourselves, particularly as Black men and Black women. We do a disservice to ourselves when we don't understand that there is a real agenda, much like there's been an agenda every time we have collectively come together. There has been an agenda by the powers that should not be to control the narrative and to create division between us so that we cannot unify. We know it was a long time ago that J. Edgar Hoover made the comment that Negro unity, okay, Negro unity was the greatest threat to America, all right? So yes, he made that comment a long time ago. And these are some of the things that we see in display when we talk about this idea of Black women climbing the corporate ladder. So let's go ahead and take a read with this. And I hope for your patience. Again, if you'd like to come in the chat, you can feel free to do so. Just one rule: if you come in, if I do not recognize your name, I'm gonna let you know right now. If I don't recognize your name, I'm not gonna let you in. I've already had my issues in the past with just letting random people in. And I want to be protective of myself and my audience. So if I do not recognize your name, it's not personal. I'm just not going to let you in. All right. So let's take a look. It says Negro women to be put to work. City ordinance soon be passed requiring them to be regularly employed. Many complaints. Now listen to this, because this is very important to this conversation we're talking about. Why can't we as Black women just stay home? When the Black men are saying, why are y'all climbing the corporate ladder? Take a listen. Regardless of whether they want to or have to, able-bodied Negro women in Greenville who are not regularly employed are to be put to work, put in jail, or fined heavily. That's the first sentence. Okay? If you're not, as a Black woman, employed regularly, you're going to be put to work, you're going to be put in jail, or you're going to be fined heavily. At a special meeting yesterday afternoon, City Council discussed the situation with regard to this class of loafers. Okay? This is what these sisters were called, loafers, at some length. And it seemed that all members of council were agreed that steps should be taken to compel them to engage in some useful occupation. All right. Now listen to the language that is being expressed here. Loafers, useful occupation. It was decided that an ordinance similar to the one now in force requiring all able-bodied men to work at least 5 days per week should be passed with regard to these women. Such an ordinance will be prepared and voted on at the next regular meeting of council. Now, here's the reason why they wanted to do this. A number of complaints have come to members of council of Negro women who are not at work and who refuse employment when it is offered them. The result being that it is exceedingly difficult for families, now they're families now, who need cooks and laundresses to get them. Wives of colored soldiers getting a monthly allowance from the government have a number of them decline to work on the grounds that they can get along without working, according to reports. Others have flatly refused jobs without giving any reason whatever, while still others pretend that they are employed when, as a matter of fact, they derive a living from illegitimate means. The proposed ordinance will require them all to carry a labor identification card showing that they are regularly and usefully employed, and the labor inspectors and police will be charged with the duty of rigidly enforcing the law. Now, family, whew, that is a mouthful. That is a mouthful. We're talking about a system that in 1918, and at that time, the husbands of these Negro women were drafted into the war. So they were getting a stipend to be able to sustain themselves while their husbands were out fighting in the war. But what happened is that these white women decided that we can't take care of our own children. Okay? We can't do that housewife, house mom duty. What about these Negro women over here? They're just lazy and shiftless, just a bunch of loafers. Why don't they come over here and take care of our children for us? So they created a committee, and they decided that our foremothers must go to work, or they're going to go to jail, or they're going to be penalized financially. Because taking care of their own children, taking care of their own households, they were loafers. Now, and sis, I feel you are nerved. They're always watching us, but it's so much deeper than just watching us. It's treating us like animals and directing every bit of our steps in our order. Now, the thing is that most people understand the work week in terms of 40 hours this day, but that's not what these women were required to do. These women were required to work 50 hours a week. When I said 40 hours a day, I meant 40 hours a week. They were required to work 50 hours a week because the ordinance was for any able-bodied man to work. And so the NAACP at the time, they went and tried to have that ordinance switched because they said this is anti-constitutional. And so therefore, they, of course, the city council, they were up in arms because how dare you tell us that what we're doing is unlawful? They said, you want these women to go out and work 50 hours a day, 50 hours a week, and not take care of their own households and call them loafers. That's the context of our mothers going out to work. This is one of the reasons why, when it comes to what we have going on in terms of our psyche to this day, you'll find that a lot of sisters are told by the women in their family that you better go out and work and stop being lazy. Okay? This is what you're told. If you want to stay at home and take care of your children, you're told by your mothers and your grandmothers and your aunties, you need to go on out and you need to get a job. I don't know what you think you want to do over here taking care of these children. You better put them in daycare. You better put them in public school. Go get yourself a job. Outside of even the economic reasons, you don't want to be lazy and shiftless. So you better get a job. This has disrupted, our collective psyche. So let's take a look here. Black women's labor market history reveals deep-seated race and gender discrimination. The Black woman's experience in America provides arguably the most overwhelming evidence of the persistence and ongoing drag from gender and race discrimination on the economic fate of workers and families. Black women's labor market position is the result of employer practices and government policies that disadvantage Black women relative to white women and men. Negative representation of Black womanhood have reinforced these discriminatory practices and policies. Since the era of slavery, the dominant view of Black women has been that they should be workers, a view that contributed to their devaluation as mothers with caregiving needs at home. African American women's unique labor market history and current occupational status reflects these beliefs and practices. Now, I found it very interesting, this particular part right over here, talking about the percentages of white women versus Black women. It says in 1880, 35.4% of married Black women and 73.3% of single Black women were in the labor force, compared with only 7.3% of married white women and 23% of single white women. Black women's higher participation rates extended over their lifetimes, even after marriage, while white women typically left the labor force after marriage. And now we're still talking, we're all the way up into the 1970s. Okay? And it's still the same thing. Lower pay. And then they talk about in this article how the government paid white women through welfare to be able to stay at home so that they could force Black women to come into their homes to take care of their children, all while calling us lazy and shiftless. So in 2017, the median annual earning for full-time year Black women workers was just over $36,000, an amount 21% lower than that of white women, reflecting Black women's disproportionate employment in low-wage service and minimum and sub-minimum wage jobs. Black families, however, are more reliant on women's incomes. Now here we are. Black families, however, are more reliant on women's incomes than other families are, since 80% of Black mothers are breadwinners in their families. We have to talk about this reality here. You see, because we can hypothesize and we could talk about, as women, we say, oh, we got to get back in order, y'all. We got to get back in order. We need to think about, the fact that, so many of us, we want to be out there. We want to be the boss girl, or we want to be the boss chick. So we need to get back in order. Let me tell you, the reality is, and this is why I'm not anti-Black women working outside of the home, because I understand that it has been a psychological war used against us to keep us divided. And they do it by any means necessary. That's right. That's exactly right. Don all is vanity. We're living the matrix. Psychological warfare. And we need to understand that. Because see, what's happened is that we got brothers out here that are telling women, just like what T.D. Jakes did. And like I said, the context of his sermon was surrounded around men. He said far more about men than he did women. That particular snippet was taken out of context to make it seem like he was anti-woman, which I don't believe that T.D. Jakes is anti-woman. I'm not endorsing T.D. Jakes, but at the end of the day, the context was used to create further divide in us. When the reality is that we are all being divided. We are all being sought after for treating one another as though it's our fault. So when you have Black men in particular, and they have this mindset where, Black women are so masculine. They're just masculine. They're manly. So when T.D. Jakes says, we raise, no, my brother, you did not raise. Black men did not raise Black women to be masculine or to be men. The system of white supremacy did. The system of white supremacy did. See, because I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all. For one thing, I don't like working for anybody. Y'all know me long enough. You already know. I done told you a million times. I don't like working for people. I've got business in my blood. If I'm going to work, I'm going to work for myself 9 times out of 10. Okay? But the reality is that when women have to go out there and they have to work and they have to exert just as much energy as the man competing with the man on the job, because we were designed biologically different, we're going to be exhausted. We're going to be stressed out. We're not going to be able to come home and give you the energy that you need as a Black man and deserve as a Black man. Why? Because we are exhausted. It's just the facts of the matter. It's the facts of the matter. Yeah, I do believe up next that it is white supremacy, because you have to understand that we're talking about a reality that has been with us for such a long time in this nation. It's been with us from the very beginning, from slavery. It has been with us where Black women and Black men were both put on the plantation, both forced to work. And we know that when it comes to how Black men were treated during slavery, that the strongest man on the plantation was sometimes split in two between 2 horses to prove to the other slaves around him that they could get it too. And so, yes, it goes way back from there, but it's not just from there. It's all the way up. And no, it's not just white supremacy. but it is white supremacy. You see, because what we have to understand is that this is a system. It's not a particular person. It is a system that is designed to keep us subjugated and keep us divided. And many of our brothers fall right into it. And many of our sisters fall right into it. You got a lot of women, and if you guys are not familiar with my teaching on killing the feminist spirit, then watch it, because you got a lot of women who are controlled by the feminist spirit because of the feminist movement that their mothers and their grandmothers were a part of, and they have taken in and adopted the ways of how do I say it? Straight up of the Jezebel. They've adopted those ways, the hypersexualized rough woman. But then you have a lot of Black men out here who have equally fallen for it, because instead of lifting up their sisters, they're tearing us down. You have a lot of Black men out here that will tell you the reason why they don't date a Black woman, or they will tell you the reason. No, they'll say the reason why I date a woman, and then they'll start to denigrate a Black woman. And so I'm going to show y'all some of those things right here. And again, if you'd like to join the conversation, please do. I hope y'all weren't too disrupted by my power going out and missed it. But I want y'all to take a look at this, and I want you to tell me what you think. If you agree with them. If you agree with them. Because you might not. And of course, I don't endorse any other religion. But I think that something that he said, I think this what he said has a lot of merit to it. So take a listen and tell me what you think.
Respected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. And as Muslims, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to respect our women and to protect our women. And the only time a Muslim really gets real violent is when someone goes to molest his woman. We will kill you for our woman. I'm making it plain, yes. We will kill you for our woman. We believe that if the white man will do whatever is necessary to see that his woman gets respect and protection, then you and I will never be recognized as men until we stand up like men and place the same penalty over the head of anyone who puts his filthy hands out to put in the direction of our women. We respect them, but we want them to respect us. We think that the law should respect the Negro community. The law should protect the Negro community. The law should approach the Negro community with intelligence if it expects the Negro community to react intelligently.
So, of course, thank you so much, Stone, for saying fair use. That's right, fair use. Okay, this content is being used for educational purposes only. So, you can let me know what you think in the comment section. You can let me know, do you agree with that? Do you agree with that sentiment, that statement, that the Black woman is the most disrespected person in all of America? And if you disagree, then I definitely want you to explain why you disagree. If you agree, then explain why you agree. And if you disagree, then explain why you disagree. Because this is a conversation. It was supposed to be a open conversation for all of us to state our opinions and our beliefs. But this conversation, I'm just sharing some information that is not necessarily talked about when dealing with this comment that was made by Jakes. But tell me what your thoughts are. Okay. Ruth Queen says, I agree. Naomi Levi, I agree with him. Jay Germain says, at the time, Malcolm was correct, but that is not true today. Okay. And I do definitely, brother, give me your thoughts as far as why you say today. Like, what is the difference between when he said that comment, which is, I think it was in the 1960s when he said that, and today? What is the difference today? Ann says, I agree. All right. Now, the reason why, I'll tell you what I think. I think that I think that he's right, that the Black women is the most disrespected. Now, in terms of the most oppressed, I believe that's still our brothers. I believe that the Black men is the most oppressed, but I still believe that the Black woman is the most disrespected. And the reason why I believe that the Black woman is most disrespected is because to hold up and hold for the brothers. But a lot of times, the brothers don't feel the same necessity to be on code for the sisters. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think that that goes back and it stems back again to how we were trained, how we were raised. We were raised to undermine one another. And so this is somebody who y'all are very familiar with. I don't watch his comedy, but I thought that something he said, he does a lot of cussing, so I don't watch his comedy generally, but I thought something he said in regards to a brother who, we're going to give context for this, said exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to share with y'all this statement that was said by the comedian Godfrey. And again, you could tell me what you think. Sorry about that, y'all. I got to get the volume up on there.
Hello, everyone. Godfrey here. You see this picture here? Yes. This man's name is Patrick Patterson. And not too long ago, he made some very disparaging remarks about Black women. He said, all Black women are bulldogs. Well, are they, my friend? So what you are saying, Mr. Patterson, is that your mother is a bulldog? Your grandmother's a bulldog, your great-great-grandmother's a bulldog, your sisters, your aunties are all bulldogs. Listen, when we talk about Black women, we're not just talking about the women on Instagram in their bikinis and twerking and showing their bodies unnecessarily all the time. No. You are talking about all the Black women, yes? Don't forget, Black women are the most educated in America. It's a fact. Google it, my friends. Yes. And also the Black woman is the creator of all humankind. Yes. Black girl magic at its finest. Yes. So, as you can see, he's dating a white woman, which is fine. I'm not saying that love does not transcend color, but with the history that we have with our white brothers and sisters, I sometimes doubt that it's love. Might be fetishes, might be trying to get a parent angry, or might be a self-inferiority complex that is so deep in your soul, it is too far out. Yes, 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 yes. So do not make that mistake again, my friend. You understand? How dare you say that? You know, I think Black society, I don't, Black community sounds very poor. Black society, from now on, we need to get rid of Black people that want to throw us under the bus in public. We have to get rid of them. If you have a barrel of apples and a couple of them are rotten, what do? You throw them out. Just like we need to do with some of these silly sellout Negroes, men and women, that continue to say shit about our wonderful culture. People that deny their Blackness, all of them need to go forever. Ostracization. Yes, is what I say. So, you calling Black women bulldogs, my friend, Mr. Patterson, since you've gone to the other side, I would call you a stray dog, my friend. Good luck with that. The sunken place is very deep. Watch the teacups. Good day.
Godfrey's funny yet serious video would gain over 150,000 views on his page and over 4,000 comments. Now, what made Patterson's previous comment even come to life involved an NBA player responding to a user who questioned why he had
and why it is that he married a white woman after he got into his role in sports, and he felt offended. And so he said that he was attacking that man's wife because he saw a picture of her, and in his mind, she looked like a bulldog, and he was not attacking all Black women. I personally think it's a cop-out. I think that Godfrey called him out, and because Godfrey called him out, then he felt like he had to defend his position. He said he apologized. He wasn't talking about all women. But I mean, for me, that's the kind of stuff that I see that is in our culture that is really destroying us as a people. I really feel like this is one of the things that have, have caused us to be at war with one another than instead of working with one another. And he talked about the history that we have with our white brother and sister, as he said, counterparts. Why do you go in that direction? Now I'm going to look up Jay Jermaine, and feel free, brother, to go ahead and use the link because I see your picture here. If you want to join into the discussion, feel free, because this is not all about my input. I am opening this up for everybody who wants to give their input to this conversation. But you say Black women are protected by the system when they actually have way more control of their image and likeness. Black women have say-so in politics, media, and academia. Brothers don't have that leverage. Do you brothers agree with this statement? Do you agree, as a brother, do you agree with that statement that Jay Jermaine made? Ruquin Yisrael says about that man in the NFL. Was he in the NFL or NBA? I'm not sure. I can't remember. Self-hatred. Self-hatred. Okay. That's true. Okay. Donovan Vanity. Black men are the only men who talk negatively about their women. You never hear another culture group talk about their women like Black men do. Never. Okay. Do y'all agree with that statement? Do you agree with the original statement that I said, brothers? Jay Jermaine said, Black women are protected by the system. They can create their own image. They're able to have influence in politics, media, and academia. Or do you agree with Don's statement when she says, listen, these Black men are out here just talking negatively about women. So how is it that if you're talking negatively, we can create our own image because you put out there in the world that we are bulldogs. You put out there in the world that we are not as attractive as other women, other ethnic groups. What do you agree with? Up next says Sai, 83% of Black men marry Black women, while 80% of divorces in our community are initiated by Black women. Wow. And I've heard that. I've heard statistically that Black men do marry Black women more, but out of the divorce ratio, it is Black women who are divorcing Black men. V Believe says, I think Godfrey's girlfriend is of a different ethnicity. I think Godfrey is an opportunist. Now, I don't know. Naomi Levi says, what leverage? What leverage? I think that is directed at the brother. What leverage are you saying that we have? Up next, you also don't hear women of other cultures say they don't need their men and that they're strong and independent. Okay, that's a counter argument. Up next says you also don't hear women of other cultures say they don't need their men and that they're strong and independent. Okay? So this is why we have to have these conversations. You see, because what happens is when we get outside of sound bites and we begin to dialogue with one another and see where each person is at, then we're able to have a more concrete understanding of how we got from point A to point B. Now, again, I think that every single one of your comments is reflective of my very point. My point is that each of us has been affected and impacted by this gender war that we should have never even had place in starting. We shouldn't even be, it's like how we say, that's not my argument. That's not even my discussion. We shouldn't have had a place. Why? Because each of us, Black men and Black women, have been affected by this same society. We have been infected like a disease by this same society. Ernest Hicks says, not totally. Again, not totally. Many of our women today have an advantage because they may take advantage of the system to gain an education to move further ahead. I say this from my personal experience. Okay, he says from his personal experience that women take advantage of the system to gain an education to move further ahead. Okay, that's what he said. They took advantage of it. All right, and Stay on Fire Ministry says, up next, that's true. And us men, we do always call our sisters out their name. So this is why, see, we're not all a monolith. Some brothers agree, some brothers disagree. Now I'm going to share this video with y'all because I think it's important for context again. And when you see certain things, it's like, wow, I didn't realize this is what we were dealing with. But it's all ingrained into the psyche to really cause us to be warring with one another rather than supporting one another. So let me go ahead and put this on here. Let's see here. All right, take a look at this. I'm not going to play the whole video, but take a look at this.
Yes, Lord, got to get out.
The Mammy.
You tell me who you want done, and I'll do the hell out of it.
The Jezebel.
Shut it up! You are such a big baby.
And the Sapphire. Submissive, sexy, sassy. 3 stereotypes of black women that return to our screens over and over again.
The mammy is probably the most familiar to people. It's usually a maid, heavy, taking care of the family.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important.
She is asexual. She doesn't have really a life of her own. She's really only there to support the family.
And probably one of the most famous examples is Mammy from Gone with the Wind.
Just hold on and suck in.
Somebody who is always seeking out to put aside her own desires, her own needs for white families, white men, white women, white children.
Meet Sugar Hill, sexiest, deadliest chick in town.
The second stereotype is the Jezebel, and that's someone who's generally oversexed.
Is mysterious.
Her only power is in her body and in the influence she has over men.
Unattainable.
And then finally, the Sapphire character, I think that's seen in TV more often than anything else.
Get some Kleenex, wipe your nose, because it ain't that damn sad.
The Sapphire is usually sharp-tongued, manipulative woman who emasculates her husband.
There was actually a character called Sapphire Stevens on the Amazon Andy show.
And I guess you think you could cook, clean, and get along just fine all by yourself.
I does.
The representation of the angry black woman. And that's kind of metamorphosized to today, where we just have sassy, angry black woman who doesn't take anything from anybody.
So y'all can definitely watch that video in full if you want to. Fair use. Again, this is for educational purposes. Thank you, Am Stone. So let me ask you, is life imitating art, or is art imitating life? This stereotype of the Mammy, the Jezebel, and the Sapphire that has been projected in media since black women were allowed to even be in media has been those 3 types, archetypes of the overall picture of what a black woman is. And the reason why I think this is very important is because we are so moved by the screen. We're moved in, and we are shaped in our thinking by what we see on the screen. But is that the reality? Is that the mother that you had? Did you have a mother that was a Mammy, a Jezebel, or a Sapphire? Did you have sisters who were like that, aunties that were like that? Now, the truth is, I believe that we all have. I believe that we all have had those experiences with women that were fit in one of those categories, but were every single one of the experiences that we had with our sisters, were they all within that context? So we have to be honest and we have to be fair about how we've been viewed. How we've been viewed. Brew Queen says, other groups protect their own. Black women are jumping to other side. Also, white supremacists running at mind control. Yeah, and you see that with Candace Owens, the greatest. And I'm going to tell you, actually, I was on BitChute about a week ago, and I saw this little snippet from Candace Owens, and she was saying black people have learned their history backwards. And she starts talking about, and it's just like a minute or 2 video, but it's on BitChute, and she starts talking about how basically her great-grandfather was more successful than her grandfather, or her grandfather was more successful than her father. Why? Because even though it was an economic depressive time, he stood and he worked for his own. But when her dad came into the scene, that's when government handouts were available. And so it's government handouts that Black people look for. Now, the funny thing about that wasn't even so much what she said, because it's Candace Owens. You know what I'm saying? I know how Candace Owens thinks. But when I looked down at the comment section, what was so sad, it was not surprising, but was so sad were all the comments from white people that were calling us the N-word. They were calling us monkeys. They were saying that we are totally uneducated, that we are animals, we can't be educated. But these are the same people that she props up. These are the same people she props up. Jay Jermaine says, Black men only spoke negatively about Black women when hip hop came along in the 90s. Meanwhile, Black women has had media platforms for decades in the media and literature. Alice Walker, Bell Hooks, Oprah, etc. So again, he made a controversial statement. Black men only spoke negatively about Black women when hip hop came along in the 90s. So what changed, Jay Jermaine? What changed? What shifted? What caused Black men to go from supporting their women? I think Up Next had said something along the lines of Black men dying for their women up until that time. But now we have a whole hip hop culture. What changed? What shifted to cause these brothers, who now have an artistic platform that is reaching the world over, to now use their platform to denigrate Black women? Please explain that to me. Thumbs up, family. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. That's what we're trying to do, my brother. That is what we're trying to do. We're trying to come together and build each other up. But the problem with coming together and building each other up is that we have to have honest dialogue. And a lot of times, because we get boxed into our emotions, and we don't like to have these honest conversations because we get so offended so easily by one another. And we have got to get past that place of offense. We have to move with emotional intelligence so that we can learn how to work together. Ernest Hicks says, I see and hear many men of other races speak bad about their women. It's just more common to be blasted about us because we are so entrenched in our own pocket of society. Now, that is a good point. That's a good point that you make. We can't just assume, right? But we do, that other nationalities don't talk about their women. I was just talking with my mom the other day on my birthday, and we were talking about the Indian culture, and we're talking about how the women in the Indian culture, that they're treated like dogs by their husband. They're treated like stone cold property. So I don't know what these men are saying about them, but if they're treating them that way, is it fair for me to assume that other men don't treat and don't talk about their women in that way, and it's only our men? See, these are the things that we have to begin to deal with. Don Alvanity says, all I can say is the agenda to divide and conquer has worked beautifully. At this rate, we'll be successfully whited out. It's worked beautifully. I agree. Brew Queen Israel says, yep, mind control, TV, window to the soul. Art imitating life. Okay. Naomi Levi says, it feels like we always have to be in our guard. We always have to protect ourselves. At least that's how I feel. Now, if you can agree with that sentiment as a woman, I definitely want to hear if you agree with that. Does it feel like you always have to be on guard? You always have to protect yourself? Because I understand how she feels. I understand that sentiment. Like we always have to be on guard. It's not just me. You see, because I am not an island. I live on an island, but I'm not an island. I'm in community. And when I see my sisters hurting, it feels that way. It feels very much like, oh my goodness, we always got to protect ourselves. But who are we always protecting ourselves from? Are we always protecting ourselves from the society overall? Or are we protecting ourselves from Black men as well? Thank you so much, Don, for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Jason Camphor says, from what I've seen, life imitating art and then art imitating life. Up Next says, those stereotypes started on the plantation, and the master used those stereotypes to deflect from his own depraved actions and crimes against our sisters then and now. That's right. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Bat Yisrael, if other races make fun of their women, it's kept behind closed doors. They know how to stay on code. That's another excellent point that we have to consider. They stay on code, but we blast ourselves. We blast ourselves. We blast how we feel about this and blast how we feel about that. And that is a point that I think is very important for us to make, because one of the things that TD Jakes did is he spoke to the reality of our collective pain. He talked about the fact that Black men, or men in general, he didn't say Black men, but that's who his audience is, are in pain, that they are tired. He talked about the fact that they are drained. Nobody's pouring into them, and then they're supposed to pour out when they are empty. And he said that we lash out and say, I can do bad all by myself, and I've got to protect myself, and I've got to go out and make money for myself. We do that out of pain. Why? Because they hurt us. Y'all heard that part where he said that. Don says, my mother stayed at home. I never heard my parents argue if they disagree. That's amazing. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I can't say the same. My mother was a working woman. My dad worked, and they argued regularly. And I heard the arguments regularly. Absolutely. So Beanie says Black women need to be accountable, period. I want you to elaborate. I want you to elaborate with your statement. Black women need to be accountable, period. When you make statements like that, those are triggering statements. So there's got to be context to why you said what you said. Let's not get into this place where we make triggering statements without context. So please give your supporting statements as to why you believe that Black women need to be accountable. And at the same time, do you believe the same of Black men? All right. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Up next says the record companies push those messages, and unfortunately, some of us were complicit. Real talk. So when we talk about this idea of Black men coming in and speaking negatively through art in the media about their sisters, who was behind it? The record companies. But who owns the record companies? Who owns the record companies and approves the music that goes out to the listeners? Now, we all know the answer to that. Up next says, brothers in hip hop and R&B push positive Black images, male and female. R&B contained whole albums of love ballads. Then came the record companies. Exactly. Exactly. Am Stone, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Now, you ladies, do me a favor and put a 1 in the chat if you can agree with this statement. I don't know why y'all don't want to come on and speak. I'm just having to go through the comment section. Y'all can speak for yourself, you know. You can go ahead and hit the link in the StreamYard and definitely give your point of view. But my mother used to tell me to never depend on a man. If you were told that by your mother, never to depend on a man, put a 1 in the comment section. I know I was told the same thing. Never depend on a man. And in some rights and respects, I appreciated her telling me that, because her telling me never to depend on a man caused me from the age of a young woman to never try to use a man. I didn't go out of my way trying to be a gold digger, trying to see what a man could do for me financially in some regards. But at the same time, I do think that that also came from a place of insecurity and bitterness. I don't know about your experience, but that's mine. I only wish we could see more in the realm of the spiritual, realize who our enemies are, come together to work out our differences with each other, and pray for guidance for resolutions. And see, my sister, that's the whole thing about it. That's the whole thing about it. We need to be able to look outside of what we can see from the physical standpoint and the circumstances of life. And it's very difficult to do when you're right in there. It's like you can't see the forest for the trees. You know, when you're in the thicket of your circumstance, you can't see anybody but the person that is beside you that is supposed to be one flesh with you. And so the man and the woman begin to attack one another rather than recognizing that we have a spiritual enemy that is against us all. And this is something y'all have to understand. This is a multi-million, if not billion-dollar industry, is to suck us as a society, I like what Godfrey said, completely dry. To cause us to be at constant war with one another and to suck us dry. They said Kevin Samuels was making videos about men holding each other accountable before he began making videos talking about Black women. But it wasn't until he started making videos talking about Black women and cutting them off and doing all the things he was doing that was for shock value that he blew up. Now that says a whole lot. Mr. The Original School, hip-hop was used as a platform to escalate the conscious movement, but the record companies that own the labels and the industry controls what is being pushed. That's right. They control what's being pushed. And initially it was supposed to be about the conscious movement. You know, what is it? Self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. Okay, you had songs like that. I think that was KRS-One. Okay, but eventually, gangster rap, eventually people like Tupac became the god of hip hop. And he was such a conflicted person because in one sense, he would make songs like Brenda's Got a Baby. And the next song he would make would be like, I don't care nothing about these 304s. You understand what I'm saying? Homies over hoes type of way. Peace and blessings, Brother Eric in the building. Shalom to you. Glad you're here to join the conversation. Vibly says, I agree. We feel we have to protect ourselves. That includes our Black man and other races. Like we're competing, we stay looking over our shoulders. Yeah, we stay looking over our shoulders constantly in a means of protecting ourselves. But I feel the same way for Black men. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to make it seem like Black women are the only ones who are feeling unprotected. And this is why I'm saying that we have got to learn how to look at one another in solidarity and empathize with one another. Because a lot of times when you see Black men lashing out against a Black woman, it's because they feel absolutely powerless. They feel powerless. And this is not to excuse the behavior of these brothers out here that are denigrating and beating down and physically hitting their women and their children with blows and verbally abusing them. This is not to say that, oh, this is an excuse for you, but it is to say that understand on both sides that there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. We've been raised in it. We've been like a pot of stew. We've been cultivated in it. Yeah, other cultures don't necessarily treat their women well, but they don't go blasting them on a bullhorn. And I think even with that, when we look at the blasting on a bullhorn, because this is something that T.D. Jakes also spoke to, he said, by the time, because Black men don't know how to express their emotions, by the time he does finally express himself, he's boiled over and it comes out and he's so angry. And because he's so angry, everything that he had to say, it was unheard because he's angry. And our women become afraid. Our women become afraid. Because the Black man is angry. And why is he angry? He's angry because he can't express his own emotions. The ish people are running the entertainment industry, both music and Hollywood. Y'all better push that one button. I see all them ones. I see all them ones. Black men have been subject to examination, accountability, and correction since we got here. Our women have not been held as accountable until this point. Okay, so you say Black men have been subject to examination, accountability, and correction since we got here, but our women have not been held as accountable up until this point. Who agrees with that? And this time I'm going to put the ones in the chat. Okay, I'm going to go back to your statement in a minute, but I'm going to put the ones in the chat. Do you agree that Black women are not, up until this point, being held accountable? But Black men have always been held accountable. I'm going to tell you personally, I disagree. I disagree with you. And the reason why I disagree with you is because, again, up next, I believe that me and you Black man, me Black woman, we have all been completely examined. Okay, let's talk about the OBGYN. Let's get some historical information right there. We talk about the examination of the Black woman. Do we not know that the equipment that is used today to examine women for their pap smears was used on a Black woman? We talk about examinations, right? Let's talk about the physical ones. Without any morphine, without any painkillers, she was treated like an absolute guinea pig so that modern medicine could know what to do. Just like how they treat animals today. You know, they have them in the rats in the rat lab. They use the rats then, they use the Black woman then. And we know our brothers with the syphilis experiment, the Tuskegee experiment, the scrutiny. Y'all remember it was a CIA document, I believe. It could have been CIA or FBI. That came out in the 1950s or 60s that was examining how we shop. Not how the Black man shops, how the Black man and the Black woman shops. This is how you have to market to the Black man. This is how you have to market to the Black woman. What about that woman whose behind was so huge and they used her as some sort of like a clown show, and they would all stand around and slap her and ride on her like she was a donkey? As to why it is that the Black woman today is known for her big body. That's just examination. I could go on. Correction. Well, I think correction, if you're looking at it in terms of policing, you can definitely see a divide there. You can definitely see the Black men in terms of policing, that they're beat down more than the Black woman is beat down. And that's because they're afraid of you more than they're afraid of us. Absolutely. But in terms of being correctable inside of our homes, I believe Black men correct Black women all the time. Now, as to whether or not Black women receive that correction is a different thing. Got that one right there. Again, if you want to come into the discussion, you can go ahead and just use that link in StreamYard and come into the discussion. So you say accountability for 50 or 60 years of being complicit with our enemies and accepting the trinkets. That's the accountability we're talking about now. 50 or 60 years. So being complicit with our enemies. Do we think that that's just a Black woman thing? Or do we not go back and realize that this has been a coonery thing on both sides? How many Black men have accepted the trinkets way back from during the plantation, being the overseers over the plantation to keep their brothers and sisters in subjugation? Again, we have to be honest. We have to be honest. So never depend on a man, basically springboarded from society in the 80s, when society, our enemies, fostered the idea that it was better for a woman to raise a family as a single parent. I think that's a huge thing that we have to look at. Where did this attitude of never depend on a man come from? Did it come from a Black woman? Or was it foisted upon her? We attack one another out of our own hurt. We need to heal. Be Believe says, my mom taught me that as well. Taught me never to trust a man. That's the context of this comment. I wish there was a balance with that statement because it made me disrespect the Black man. And that's what I'm saying. That's the other side of it. Yes, I don't need a man. Where did it come from? It didn't come from the Black woman, but what was the conclusion of the matter? I don't need a Black man. Now the Black man gets disrespected. That's why I set up next. Whether or not she receives that correction is a whole nother thing. Because oftentimes we are trained not to receive correction from a Black man. The social programs here in America support and give more benefits if the woman is by herself and raising a family. I don't know. I really don't know about that. If you're a single mother and you can agree with that, then feel free. Feel free to share your opinion. I've never experienced that because I've not raised a family as a single woman. I've never had that conversation with my parents. My mom was there for my dad. I had no other example. I just always know that you took care of your man. Respect for people was drilled into us. Now, see, look at that. The respect that she was raised in by her mother to treat her dad with respect went over and spilled over into how she treated the man in her life. And I have to tell you that is counter, whatever you want to call it, culture. And I love it. I love that your parents took the time out to treat you and to teach you the right principles. Because that's what I have to do with my own children. I have to teach my sons how to treat me as a mother so that they will know how to treat the wife that the Most High provides for them later on. I have to teach my daughters how to treat my sons, how to treat my husband, and how I teach them is about how I treat my husband. If y'all been following me long enough, I've been on that journey for a while. James Columbus, do me a favor. Just show me your picture in the background real quick. I think I told you to come on, but show me your picture in the background real quick, and then I'm going to let you on to say your piece. You can turn your camera off once you finish doing that. Perfect. Okay, my brother. All right, you can turn off your camera, and then I'll let you in. Oh, you don't have to. It's up to you. All right. Got James Columbus in the building. Peace and blessings to you, my brother. Glad to have you here. How you doing tonight? Uh-oh, I hope you're, do you have your audio on? You might have an issue with your audio. Just make sure that you put your audio on. Okay, I see that you have your mic off now. You go ahead and try to cut it back on. Okay, go ahead and say something. Okay, what I want you to go back out and come back in and check your audio settings. Family, when you come in here, please check your audio settings. StreamYard can be kind of funny with that. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll take you out. And you just come on. You just pull all the way out and go back in. There you go. That's right, family. Hit that thumbs up. This is a conversation we need to have. Here we go. Here's the conversation right here. Domestic violence. Domestic violence. This is something that we don't talk about enough. But the facts of the matter is that domestic violence is a huge problem among our community. It's one of, listen, y'all know when it comes to us in this community that we have, we don't shy away from many conversations. But I think collectively, we all shy away from this one. We don't want to deal with this. And I've said over and over again, when it comes to the issue of domestic violence, I do not believe that domestic violence is solely between a man or going from man against a woman. I believe that it goes both ways. I believe that women can be violent towards men as well. And I believe that they can both be violent toward their children. But why are we not talking about this? You see, because there's a lot of families, and statistically speaking, women are more abused physically than men in their marriages, by their boyfriends, by their husbands. Why is it that we are not addressing this issue right here? You may know people in your life who have been battered and abused, women and men who have been battered and abused and are ashamed because of domestic violence. But who's talking about it? And we need to talk about it. Because see, the thing is that there's so much silence around that conversation that what happens is that our brothers and our sisters, they have so much shame and they're battling it alone. We need to address it. We're going to try again with Brother James. Are you there, my brother? I don't know why it's not giving you it's doing you like it was doing me earlier. No, I had a power outage, but go ahead and just see if you got that. Okay, I see you unmuting. I see you muting. Okay, now let me see if you can unmute. Nothing yet, my brother? I appreciate you for trying to come on. I don't know why it is that it's giving you such a hard time. You can try again. And I like this statement here. Healing doesn't begin until the leaders take responsibility. Healing doesn't begin until the leaders take responsibility. But who is the leader? Who is the leader? Or who's supposed to be the leader? When I look at the scriptures, it makes it very clear who's supposed to be the leader. And that is the man. But many men feel very much castrated from their roles of being a man before they even become a man. They want to be in leadership. They want to be accountable. But yet, they feel castrated from the time that they're young, by their mothers, by society, and they cannot lead the way they want to. Zeki in the building. Blessings to my sister. You got volume?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing, girlfriend?
Oh, I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm so glad to be having this conversation tonight. I feel like it's much needed. I wanted to take my time with this and not just go off of a soundbite that's just going to make us angry and then we move on and we continue to fight. So what are your thoughts about everything that you've heard tonight?
My thoughts on it is that it's both a man and a woman's issue in the Hebrew community. We're dealing with a lot of generational curses where, yes, our mindset was, for at least us as Hebrew women, we've seen through slavery, seen through our lifetimes that they emasculate our men. And it's gotten to the point where we believe that we shouldn't be able to depend on them or be able to find support to them. But then it's also vice versa, where media has shown, and as Up Next was saying, that a lot of our music was showing how men would end up like disrespecting us and being like, oh, I should go with a white woman instead because Black women are saying they don't need us, they don't need to depend on us, and we don't need to protect them.
That's right. That's right. And you know, I'm seeing, based off of what you're saying, exactly what I was talking about before, that it's an external divide. It's not so much that it's happened internally, but even when we go back into the scriptures, we can see that that is a part of our curse. We can look at Deuteronomy 28 and talking about how the wife, she's going to look at her husband with contempt. All right. And the man, he wouldn't even be able to sleep with his wife because she would be, the wife he betrothed will be given over to another. So there's so much external factors that lead to this conflict that is within us. And it is an issue that faces both of us. Now, tell me a little bit about your experience as a Black woman, as a Hebrew woman, dealing with the males in your family, the Hebrew males in particularly in your family. Did you talk to them and get a sense from them that they felt respected, that they felt oppressed, that they felt, how did they feel, the men particularly in your family?
For the men, particularly in my family, I would go probably with my older brother as an example, is that I did notice a difference. And my older sister actually had to check him a few years ago because he would always talk about, oh, I can't date other Black women because they're loud, they're disrespectful, they're disgusting. And then finally one day my older sister just snapped on him saying, you do know you have 4 other sisters who are Black, and you are, every time you open your mouth disrespecting Black women, you're disrespecting every single one of us.
There you go. There you go. And isn't it such a stereotype at the same time that Black women are the ones that are loud, Black women are crass, and that it's like, oh, white women are just so fragile and so ladylike and womanlike, and that's why it is that we can date these white women, but we can't date these bulldogs. I mean, I'm just, that's one of the things that I see. That's one of the parroting talking points that these Black men who hate Black women push. Welcome, James, into the building again. Hopefully we can get you on, my brother.
No problem. You got me?
Yes, yay! We can hear you now.
All praise to the Most High.
Hallelujah. All right, my brother. Go ahead. State your opinion. You had some comments in the comment section, so I want to hear from you.
Actually, there really wasn't no comments. Just I appreciated what you were speaking about in a poem.
Okay.
You had some great notes, and all the world needs to hear, to be honest with you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Praise.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about this whole conversation about, TD Jakes making these statements that have kind of lit the internet and made women feel a kind of way? And in light of how we as a people relate to one another, do you think that what he said was offensive, or do you think there was merit? And just your experience as a Black man dealing in this society and with Black women, how would you relate to those other brothers and sisters that are listening to you out here?
He be off sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. And I say that because a lot of pastors out there, we need to stop what they're doing. Have to. But they'll continue to do it, but at the same time, people are focusing on the Bible the wrong way. And that, read it how it's supposed to be read, and basically understand it. A lot of people will not try and understand it, but they think they do. And that's why a lot of our brothers fall out and find a different relationship with the white women, to be honest with you. I have 3 wonderful, beautiful children by one, by the way, and I love them. What T. Jake said, it kind of went off in left field. So I was just kind of listening in to what you were saying, Shonda, to be honest with you, and I felt it, and all praises to you. Yah is giving you a word. And for all those people that are out there listening to you, you be bringing some very valuable points. And I appreciate that.
I appreciate you too, my brother. I definitely do. And I think with age, hopefully comes a little bit of wisdom. And early on in my walk, I only see my walk, just in my journey of life, I experienced so many of the things that my sisters, are experiencing. All those emotions I was, going through, feeling very much unprotected and feeling, like, just like we as a people didn't know how to love and respect one another. But over the years, I realized that it's in deep layers as to why it is that we don't love and protect and respect one another. And it does come from not reading the word for ourselves. It does come from not having our own relationship with the Most High. So I appreciate everything that you're saying. All praises unto him. And I want to give my sister Niazeki an opportunity to speak in regards to what we were just speaking about a minute ago concerning the issue of her brother in particular, who had this anti-Black woman mentality. After he was confronted by your sisters, did he change his mind?
Yes, he started changing his mind on that. In the end, he did end up marrying a white woman, but for it, he did correct him. He did come back and correct himself, and he did apologize because he's like, yeah, I do have 4 wonderful sisters, and I never correlated that any of you were like other Black women. But then I realized, oh, me being disrespectful to Black women, period, was also being disrespectful to you. So ever since my older sister checked him on that, he has never brought it up, and he's actually has been a lot more respectful about it.
That's amazing. I wish I could say the same for my brother. That did not happen with my brother. My brother is not married to any particular woman, but he has several children, and they are all, with the exception of one, from white women. And I personally don't understand why it is that he leans more in that direction, but we don't actually have a good enough relationship for me to check him on that. But the reality is that I mourn when our brothers feel that they have to go out and listen. At the end of the day, I'm not anti interracial marriage. I know that there were marriages in the scripture, like Timothy, whose mother was a Jewess and whose father was a Greek. I understand that there were those types of relationships that happened from back then. However, I will say that I don't necessarily feel like the contemporary relationships that we have today are always rooted in love, but more so rooted in a psychological damage that has been done to us. And because of that, we feel the need to self-medicate by going to another nationality and saying, hey, you know what? I think if I go with you, that I'll be better. You have a lot of Black women today. They won't marry a Black man because they say, well, listen, this brother right here, this brother right here, he ain't worth nothing. He ain't worth the price of rice in China. This brother right here don't care about Black women. This brother right here, he don't make no money. So I'd rather go with a white man because I know that I'm going to be protected financially more than I will with a Black man. Or I'd rather go with a white man because I feel like he's not going to dog me out like a Black woman. And it almost feels like we're saying the same thing. Black men are saying, I don't want to date an aggressive Black woman. I'll go with a more humble woman who's going to be a white woman. But like so many people said in this chat, what about the Karens? What about all the Karens today? You see, because now these women are being put on display that they ain't all that that's cracked up to be. And I was listening earlier, and a white woman said the reason why a lot of white women go after Black men is because they're easy to control. This is what she said. What do you think about that statement, Brother James? What do you think? Do you think that a lot of Black men go after white women because of the psychological damage? And what do you think about white women choosing to be with them?
That has been done to us. Yeah, I agree with that because our sisters have mouths, to be honest with you. And what I mean by that is it's a psychological thing.
It's a psychological.
And it comes a lot with knowing that word.
Yeah.
Like even our men, we don't even know how to jump on the word no more. We're too much in following this worldly thing. And that's the problem. Have to get off of it, because if we don't, if we look at the world now, it's not a psychological thing. I really don't know how to explain it. I really don't. I wish I could put it like in words, but I can't. Coming from a male perspective and a black man like that, I wish I could put it like, I don't know. So maybe you guys can let me know how you guys feel about it.
Well, you know, I'm not anti, a black man and a white woman, or a white guy and a black woman getting married, if that's who Yah has set you up with, okay? And I know a lot of my brothers and sisters will be in disagreement with me, but I have seen those relationships thrive, and I've also seen them, miserable, okay? But for me in particular, I prefer to see our brothers and our sisters marrying and making our nation stable. Okay.
That's what the Bible says, though. All praise. Yeah.
Right. I would prefer to see. I would much rather see a strong black man, a beautiful, supportive black woman, Hebrews that are loving one another, that are raising up beautiful children, that are not oppressed. That's what my husband and I have done. Okay.
Right.
We're going on 17 years of marriage, and no, it has not been easy. The reality is that I would choose him all over again. Okay.
Right.
Rather than the comfort of my psychological damage, looking for a white man to take care of me because I'm psychologically destroyed because this black man over here didn't do me right, and that black man over there didn't do me right. And there's a lot of black women that feel that way because this black man didn't do them right and that black man didn't do them right, that all black men are like that. Well, not my sons.
All praises.
Not my husband. You know, he's not a perfect man, but this is a man who has stood by my side through thick and thin. This is a man who is constantly examining his own heart and his own life and bringing it before the altar of the Most High and saying, where do I need to be corrected? He's constantly in the place in his mind and his spiritual walk where he's saying, it's me, oh Yah, standing in the need of prayer. And that is one of the reasons why him and I can continuously stand together through all of the hardships that we face, because he's not out there pointing the finger at me. It don't mean, of course, we get into, our bits and our, and our disagreements, but when it goes back to the source, he stands as that. And I think that that's what we need our brothers to begin to do. I want to welcome, Angie, I just was getting ready to welcome you into the building. I'm so sorry, sis, if you can come back on. I'm getting ready to welcome you in because I want to hear your perspective. And I know we don't all have that. And let me tell you, the truth is that he did time. Over time that the Most High began to deal with his heart. And I didn't start out being a good wife. Far from it. I didn't know how to be a good wife. And I've told y'all that over and over again. There are lessons that I've had to learn along the way. My sister Nizaki, you are married. What are the struggles that you face as a married woman?
Struggles that I faced as a married woman is I am in agreement with you. I did not know how to be a wife when I first got into my marriage. I was of the whole mindset of you don't trust men, that you don't need men to depend on. Like, I almost actually passed up on my husband because of that mindset that I grew up with. And I was actually freaking out because before he even came into my life, I was praying to the Most High. I took 4 years off of the dating scene. And I prayed to him saying, whenever you feel like I'm ready and in your will, send me a man that would be able to actually understand me, be able to communicate with me, and that I can actually be myself with. And I ended up meeting my husband, and we actually got to a crossroads, I think like 6 months into our relationship, where he even told me to this day that he's like, I don't know what told you or how you knew that I was going to break up with you that night, but like we ended up getting into a disagreement. And he I forgot what the disagreement was, but he ended up walking off. And then like suddenly I just heard his voice in my head saying, you need to run after that man now, and you need to tell him how you're raised not to trust men, how you have this mindset of you can only depend on yourself, and you need to actually open up to him. I don't know. I'm like, I know now, but back then I wasn't completely saved. I was on the fence. But I ran after him and I explained to him that, hey, I was in abusive relationships prior to this. I was raised by a single mother who pretty much told me all men are evil. Don't trust them. You can only depend on yourself. You better go and get that check. And I pretty much just broke down in front of him saying, I'm not trying to do this intentionally to you. It's just that everything that I have witnessed in my 25 plus years of life before meeting you has just shown me that. So, and after when I talked to him about that, 3 months later, he popped the question and I said yes. And we have been together for 10 years this year and married for 7.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that vulnerability. I love it. And I think that that's what we're lacking. We're lacking as a people is being able to be vulnerable with one another. I think men aren't allowed, or they feel like they're not allowed to be vulnerable with their women, and the women don't feel like we could be vulnerable with our men. And that's the keys to building a healthy relationship, is that type of vulnerability, being naked before one another. That's what the nakedness is being open and being transparent to reveal to one another that this is what I'm battling with. This is my baggage. Help me to work through it. I love you. It's not on you. I want to welcome Sister Angie Love Yah to the building. Angie, can you do me a favor? I think you have to you have me on mute. I want to welcome Sister Angie Love Yah to the building. Angie, YouTube video. Do me a favor. I think you have to you have me on mute. I want to welcome Sister Angie Love Yah to the building. Angie, YouTube video. Do me a favor. I think you have to you have me on. You want to welcome YouTube video.
Can you hear me, Sister Shonda?
I can hear you, sis. Did you mute that video in the background?
Okay, let me see how to do this. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Yes, okay. Ma'am. How you doing, sis? Good, good. So glad to have y'all in here. Loving to have the exchange. And I want to hear your thoughts about our conversation tonight.
Oh, sis, I could say so much. I have so much to say on the situation because I was that single mother. I struggled to raise the children by myself. I was in bad relationships, and I'm not blaming the man because I made some bad decisions as well. But being that single mother, I raised my oldest daughter to be independent and strong, and I told her you didn't need a man. And I feel like I failed her doing that because she's strong and she's independent, and then I had to reel her back in and say, okay, you know what, maybe I didn't do the right thing in how I explained it to you. You know what I'm saying? We do need our men. We do need our men, and she's 41 right now, and she's not married. She doesn't have any children, and she does want to be married. And I had to tell her, the hardness and the roughness, and that she needed to soften up, And like I said, I felt like I failed her raising her like that, but I had been through so much, beat down, and I just wanted her to have a different type of life. I didn't
Yes.
want her to be struggling and not knowing how she's going to pay the bills and all those things. And so I felt like I failed her, telling her those things. But I see it on both sides, a lot. I've noticed a lot of comments on Facebook and some of the comments in the chat. And I feel like as Black women now, we are seeing the value in our men. And we're coming back and we're saying, you know what? Somebody told us something wrong,
Okay.
and I feel like we're coming back, but I feel like there's a hardness now in our men against us.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but I feel like there's a hardness now.
Are
They
you
don't
right?
have that compassion for us like they used to. They're still looking at the ones that are out there twerking and doing all that. And there are a lot of beautiful daughters of Zion that say, you know what? We need our man. We love our men. We want to be submissive to our men. We want to be those type of women that our men need. But our men have a hardness against us now.
Yeah, that's true. I think
and that's what I see.
You hit the nail on the head. And I really appreciate your sincerity. Because the thing is that looking back, okay, is a beautiful thing to be able to do. And do it with a place of maturity, emotional maturity at your previous mistakes, the things that you did and said to your children, that now you see that it was rooted in bitterness because of your own experiences. And so now you're like, okay, I see the effects of what this has done to my daughter. And now she wants to be in a place where she's married. She wants to be able to just be in her femininity and resting in her femininity. But because I have molded her in this way, it's very difficult for her to release the hardness.
Right.
And you are right. There's so much anger and so much vitriol that I see on both sides. My goodness.
That's right.
Particularly our men are very, very angry with our women because they feel like
making me cheer up a little bit.
Would you say, Brother James?
I said, y'all making me cheer up a little bit, to be honest with you.
Well, we have to have this conversation. You know what I'm saying? You just feel like you haven't honored me. You haven't looked out for me. The whole world's been against me.
Right.
But at the same time, I have to understand my sisters feel at the same way. Like, how can we be there for you? Because every time we turn around, you just making baby mamas, or you running off to Becky, or you're just not reliable. And the thing is that if we understand how both sides feel, we can begin to have these conversations where we go and say, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry for letting you down.
Right.
And then the other person can say, I'm sorry for letting you down. And you can both begin to rebuild on that instead of constantly pointing the finger, just like in the garden, and saying, you, it's your fault. You the reason why. No, we are the reason why.
Right.
We're the ones that have to get right. And we've got to go back to our original head. We've got to go back to the Most High. It's something TD Jakes said that I really thought was very important. He said, a lot of times women are harping on submission, but they don't see the part where it says love, or where the husbands love your wives as the Mashiach, as Christ loved the church, right?
Yes.
And he said, and gave his life.
Come on.
Okay. So the reality, he said, there's no greater submission than that. I'm supposed to lay down my life for you.
Come on.
Okay. So that's the whole thing with these brothers, is that they've been given an extra charge. You've got to lay down your life for your queen. You've got to lay down your life for your family.
Yes.
And who wants to lay down their life for someone they feel hates them?
Right. That's right. That's a hard
thing to do.
Yes. And the thing too is that I've just always wanted to know that a man had my back. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're a single mother, you're out there trying to do everything yourself. And you want that. You want to know that you have somebody there that has your back, that's going to take care of you and love you. And when I finally got that, and got married, the Most High is still dealing with me, with my mouth, because I can be snappy. You know, I can be very snappy sometimes. I let my husband have it sometimes, and I had just been crying out to the Most High. And Brooklyn will tell you, I'm like, Most High, just help me to shut up, just be quiet. And he's working with me with that. You know, now I'm not so, running my mouth all the time. When my husband says something to me, whether it's right or wrong, I just shut up and I go to the Most High. And if it's wrong, because sometimes they be wrong, I go to the Most High and I pray about it and I let the Most High handle it. But I don't go and try to correct him and all that stuff like I used to do, because I didn't know how to just have somebody there that's taking care of me and that's handling everything. I always had to do it.
Yes.
And so now I know my place. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in my 50s. I'm still learning.
Yes.
I'm still learning. But the thing about it is that I've got the desire and I want to learn. I want to love. I love my Black man. I love them.
Yes.
And I'm thankful that I have someone that has my back and I have his back.
Yes, that's right. That's absolutely right.
We can't give up on each other. We need each other. We cannot give up on each other. We need each other so much.
Yeah, that's right. I want to look at this comment from Dark perspective. He says, the Bible says many things about a loud woman. And now I'm just going to put this out there. Okay. I know, we can be, a bit, we can say
over out there.
Outspoken, things. Look, y'all see my little thing right here, right? It says woke, outspoken, melanated, and natural, right? Black woman. So I know what it is to be a little outspoken. However,
sometimes we need that, though. To be honest with you,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, go ahead, my brother. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because that soft-spoken thing, we need that voice like a trumpet sometimes, And it has to be spoken out.
Yes, my brother, I agree.
Yes.
Sometimes we got to say some things. I agree. But I also agree with my sister. And when she said, I don't always now readily go to be combative when my husband says something, whether I agree or I disagree with him. I quiet myself. And I like what the narcissist perspective said, even though the tone that they use it, it can come off a bit offensive, if you will, right? What you trying to say? You trying to say out loud? No, I'm kidding. But I like the perspective that it comes from, seriously, because here's the thing: there's a beauty in quietness.
Mm-hmm.
There is a beauty in being able to let your man have the last word. I'm gonna tell you, my husband and I, we were having a little joke the other day, right? And he said, you always have to have the last word. So I didn't say anything. And he kept going, right? And he kept going, and he was deliberately saying things that was trying to trigger me, right? And I sat there for about a good 7-8 minutes. And then I put my hand out to say, are you done? And then after that, I said, see, I just wanted to prove to you that I didn't have to say the last word.
It was hard, wasn't it, sis?
It was hard. Woo! It was hard. I was like, you're trying me, ain't you? You're trying my patience. Oh, my goodness. But it was just a little comedy between us. But really, the whole thing is that it actually helps us when we can learn how to be emotionally mature.
Yes,
and I think that's the context of much of what we have a problem with, is because society has caused us to be sort of, animalistic toward one another, where we're like, we're like lions that are going head to head, butting heads all the time. Instead of that, how about we just learn how to quiet ourselves so that we can listen with intelligence, as Pastor Kelly was said, and then we can receive from one another and get the truth of the root of what the other is saying versus hearing the tone and being turned off automatically. What do y'all have to say about that? Thank you so much, Narc, for the gift. It says women say they don't know how to be submissive, but their supervisors get all the respect low. Y'all be lying so much. Well, Narc, you better come on up here. I think that's on both sides, my brother. That's on both sides.
Right.
Because you got a lot of brothers out that they give all their women all the flack, but then when they get to work, they're like, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know, yeah. Put that name tag on and like, yeah, yes, master. Yeah, what you do. Yeah.
Gotta get that check. Gotta get that paycheck. So it's on both sides.
Right. And another thing that too is a lot of things that's childhood trauma. You know what I'm saying? That we bring into relationships and we don't heal from those things and we drag it right into a relationship with our men, and both ways, because men go through trauma as well and they don't know how to deal with their trauma and the things that they went through. And so, we bring those things in, we bring all that baggage with us. So it's so many layers that we have to peel away,
See, that's where that Bible comes into play.
Exactly.
I mean, we got to be still let know that Yah is Yah.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And
That's a comment that Brother Jay Highstyle made in the chat, and it really, we didn't know. You know what I'm saying? We just didn't know. I mean, I read the word, I read the Bible, but I saw myself and I didn't see myself. You know what I'm saying? In there, and once I really came into the truth and really started to read and look at the scriptures and study the scriptures, I'm like, okay, I definitely see myself. And that's when the change started to come about. But we didn't, we just didn't know. We had no clue,
Right.
We were clueless.
Yeah. And
this world sold us a lot of lies.
A whole lot.
Still selling a lot.
Exactly.
That's right.
To this day.
So we're combating a sea of lies, trying to operate in maturity, but we see that when we fail to operate, both as Black men and Black women, we fail to understand the psychological warfare that's been played against us years later, how it affects our lineage.
That's
right.
Yes.
That's when we go like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that my child turned out to be like this. I can't believe that my child is battling with that. Why?
Right.
Because we couldn't see the forest for the trees while we were in the thicket of it.
Come on. That's right.
All right. Narc again. Narc, go ahead, brother. Feel free. Comment all night long. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm dabbling listening.
The thing is, y'all already know how to listen. Y'all be doing that since elementary school. Y'all just don't see enough value in us to listen.
I totally disagree.
Okay,
you
tell
always
me about
me? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sister Angie. Why?
No, I just said I totally disagree with his comment.
Okay, why do you totally disagree?
I don't believe that we didn't see the value in them or whatever, I don't agree with that. But see, I'm a little old school, I was raised in a household where I had both parents there. My mother stayed home. She was a homemaker.
7 boys and 5 girls.
Yep. She taught me. She believed in as a matter of fact, I wanted to go work and I was like, I gotta go work, I gotta find a job. And I couldn't understand why she was helping my brother out and talking to people about jobs for him. I'm like, I want a job, I want to work too. She was like, no, you're not supposed to work. You're supposed to stay home and take care of the kids and cook and clean. And she taught me all those things. She taught me how to cook, clean, take care of my husband. I mean, that's the type of mother that I had. I never saw my father come home and did not have a hot meal. I never saw him come home to a nasty house. I never heard mama raise her voice at him. So I had the example. The example was there. And some of us do have that example, but like I said, somewhere in there was a disconnect, but I don't think it was always like that. There was a disconnect somewhere that happened.
I agree 100%. And I also agree, with you that it's not that we didn't see value in our, it's not, it's just at the end of the day, we've all been fed a delusion and a lie. We've been painted imagery about what the Black man is, the stereotypes in the media.
Right.
I don't know if y'all listen to Go Black to Africa or any of the people who are over there who are expats, and they'll tell you that a lot of the Africans that they perceive Black people in a particular way based off of what the media feeds them. So we're all our men are gangster rappers or athletes. We're all millionaires, And it's the same way media has a way of molding us into thinking about ourselves in a particular kind of way that is just inauthentic. Thank you so much, Anne, for the gift. And so I just don't think that. I don't think that my grandmother is from Totola. And my grandmother to this day goes on and on and on about her grandpa Pep and how her grandpa Pep, who raised her, how he treated her like a princess. Okay? The man that she looked up to the most, or the person that she looked up to most, was not her mother. It was her grandfather. Okay,
Yes.
because he treated her with such dignity and respect that even though she's an elderly woman now, she looks back and says, that was who influenced my life. And when I watched her operate in her marriage with her husband, my grandmother to this day was very, very respectful of my grandfather, allowed him to be the strong man that he is, allowed him to have the business that he developed with the water business and building homes, and stood by. She worked outside the home, but she stood by and supported his vision and his dream. So I don't think that, I think it's a blanketed statement and assumption to me to paint all Black women in the stereotype, like, oh, we don't want to respect you, we don't want to love you, we don't want to listen to you. It's not the case. We do, but there's so much that's coming from us all being, it's targeting all of us being combative and divisive with one another.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So I would never put my men down. Never.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Never.
That's beautiful. All right. Sister Niyazaki, do you have anything? We're getting ready to wrap up this conversation. And I just want to thank y'all so much for coming on. I want to thank y'all so much for having this dialogue. I think it's very important that we had this discussion, and we should have more of these discussions. But I'm going to give each of y'all an opportunity to say your final words. Sister Niyazaki, I'm going to start with you. Anything else that you'd like to say before we close out?
What I would put in is that for all this to end we have to take it up to the Most High in prayer. This is a generational curse. And for us to be able to move on, and for both Hebrew women and Hebrew men to actually love each other again, we have to break the cycle. Even if you didn't have your father in the house, or if your mother ended up teaching you the wrong things, which, Angie, love you. I'm glad that you're trying to reverse what's happening with your daughter, because I know that's a big thing that's actually caused a fallout with my mother. Because I was telling her, no, I want a man in my life. And I even told her, like, I fear that you're going to end up being lonely and bitter because you're basing it on your past experience. But I finally just had to come to the realization, if I want this cycle to end, I have to be the one that ends it. And that has been the same thing with even my younger sister, where she was like, she's married to a Black man, Hebrew man, and they're doing well, but she had to like go through 2 other marriages before she got to this 3rd one. And she's doing amazing and flourishing in it, because she finally was like, I had to learn to be feminine. I had to learn to be vulnerable. And same thing with me. And it's like, if I do not want to carry this on to the next generation, I have to just learn to take my promise to the Most High, have him work on me, beg for forgiveness, and actually learn to be that vulnerable person to my spouse. So that way the next generation doesn't have to deal with the same issues that we are dealing with.
Right.
There you go. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay, my brother James, do you have any final words that you'd like to share?
Oh, no, I definitely appreciate you. I really do. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Mashiach Yahshai, Yahuwah. Yes, I learned a lot just from listening to you guys. That was a preordained thing that Yah brought me on your channel. And I want to say thank you for that.
Well, hallelujah. Thank you so much, my brother, for coming on. Thank you for your input. We are glad to have your support. I'm glad to have the support of all our brothers and sisters on this platform. I try to be fair and balanced on this platform as much as I can, and in my own life, because I think we have enough fighting between us. So thank you so much, my brother. And my sister Angie, love Yah. What are your final comments that you'd like to leave
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on, sis. And I just wanted to say to the men that we love you, we need you, we want
Thank
you. You know, we honor you, you know, and don't give up on us, because we're not going to give up on you. We love you. We need you. We need each other.
All praise.
Yes, absolutely.
And if we keep the Most High first and stay in the Word and what the Word says and how we're supposed to treat each other, we're going to be all right.
That's
but we
right.
have to turn back to Him.
That's right. That's right. And I just love so many of your points. I think Narc made a couple of points that, were important too, about the quietness, and you talked about the quietness. And a lot of times women, we have to remember that we win our spouses over to us by our quietness.
That's
and
right.
Praying for them and just being there and standing by their side. And for you brothers who have been hurt and have felt the need to lash out, understand that we are not a monolith. There are a lot of us who really do want to be in a relationship, in a marriage that is unified, a unified front, because we know that it's bigger than us. We understand that this is a society as a people, and we have to begin to work together. If we continue to stay divided, then we will continue to be decimated as a society. And we don't want to do that. We want to be the royalty that the Most High has placed in us from antiquity. And the only way that we get back there is if we can learn how to love one another. So I want to thank all of you once again for coming on and your perspective. If you did not get a chance to listen to part 1, then please do so. But when you see it cut out, you might as well just cut it off, because I have a power outage. But I think this is a very necessary conversation.
Yes.
And again, listen to the entire message that TD Jakes shared. Don't just listen to the soundbite, because it won't give you the whole perspective on the matter. But brothers and sisters, let's love one another. Y'all know I say it all the time when I get ready to close. We're not each other's enemies, for one thing. Okay, so we're going to love ourselves without hating our enemies. And that's what we've got to do. We got to love one another as a people, and we don't have to walk in hatred. We're better than that. So praise Yahweh for his goodness and his mercy. I love all of you. And until next time, family, Yah bless and Salamah.
Come on.
Home, everyone.